Let's bring in Alan Mendenhall. He's a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Great to have you here, sir. What is going to happen from this? I mean, we do know that there was a lot of evidence that was presented here by the senators. You had the Republicans that clearly were pressing him to have him say something, but clearly taken the fifth 111 times, he was not going to give any of that information. What happens next, sir?
Well, I'm tempted to respond by saying, on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based on my rights in the Fifth Amendment. But I don't want to make light of what is really a serious situation. I mean, the name Fauci must become one that decent people utter only with contempt. It should be almost unspeakable in polite company. COVID-era policies wreaked havoc on my family. A divorce, and my kids had learning loss, limited time spent with my now-deceased elderly grandmother. And so I'm angry, and I'm just one person. Think about all the families across America who have suffered similarly. So to answer your question, Republicans' case against Fauci goes something like this. So Biden pardoned Fauci for federal crimes from 2014 to 2025. So the pardon removes the risk of prosecution for all those things. And so the Republicans are saying, look, if there's no risk of self-incrimination, the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply. Fauci's attorneys are saying, well, look, there could be new charges based on perjury, you know, what he says here. What the Republicans' position is, I think, correct. Fauci was legally subpoenaed. He'd appear before Congress. He was ordered to answer questions. He refused to answer anyway. So now it will go to the Senate committee that just held the hearing for holding Fauci in contempt. And they just need 8 votes to do that. And they have 8 Republicans on the committee, 7 Democrats on the committee. One of those Democrats is Fetterman, so you never really know where he'll go. But I suspect they'll be able to find 8.
He was pretty interesting yesterday, too.
Yeah.
Fetterman.
Yeah. He just wanted some answers, right? I mean, there's a chance, and I hope it never happens, but another pandemic could strike. Let's learn from our mistakes and let's never repeat all of the errors that took place during COVID. I wanted to ask you, Alan, about the different media approach that we saw from Fauci yesterday as opposed to when we saw him almost everywhere, like every network back during the height of COVID.
Local media, national media, newspapers, wherever
magazines, you know. This is what he said back in 2022.
I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, you know, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable. But I mean, I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully because we have nothing to hide.
Based on what he chose to say yesterday, it seems like he wasn't so forthcoming with his answers. Do you think this is because now we have those private diary entries to compare what he said publicly to what he was writing privately?
It's possible, and it's also possible that his attorneys have advised him that this pardon only covers federal charges. It doesn't cover possible state allegations. So things that he did in other states, you know, we could have Republican attorneys general start investigating him for false statements, for public records violations, for different things of fraud or conspiracy. You know, there's some statute of limitations issues that may apply, and there's some immunity issues that may apply because he was a federal official. But, you know, Fauci could be tangled up in legal matters for the remainder of his days.
Right. What was interesting, too, is the Democrats, they ignored the facts that were presented. They made it somehow political here. They even thanked him for his service. But the facts of it are, I mean, he defied the caution of the gain of function research and shipped it off to China, where they developed COVID-19. And then there's the argument, well, did it come from the lab or did it come from the market? Did he try to cover up what he was doing over there? But at the end of the day, he was also making money, and he was using federal employees to go and get those grants that he ended up getting paid for on federal time. Senator Bernie Moreno, he wanted the doctor just to simply apologize. Watch this.
Will you apologize to the moms who had to force their infant children, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, to put masks on, and what that did and how that traumatized those kids? Will you apologize to the business owners that lost their business, shattered their lives, and they'll never recover?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
At one point, too, he even asked him to turn around and see the people. He had them stand up that were shamed for even questioning him. He destroyed a lot of scientists' careers. He questioned any journalist that even decided to pose other questions about the science. I mean, what does Dr. Fauci owe the American people?
At a minimum, an apology. And what's so frustrating is that this criminal contempt of Congress is really just a misdemeanor offense. It carries a maximum of 12 months. This is the same charge that Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro received, and they got 4 months in prison, $6,500 fine. Well, if Fauci were to get that, it wouldn't even seem like it would be close to enough to do justice to what he has done to the American people. And so at a bare minimum, Fauci deserves to at least apologize, but I think he needs to serve some time in prison.
Your opinion, is shared, I'm sure, among so many Americans. And yet, Alan, you probably noticed too, at least watching the hearing yesterday, half of the room doesn't even think that that should be on the table. I mean, truly, Democrats continue to view him as this man who guided them through COVID, never sort of leading us in any wrong steps along the way. Here's Democrat Senator Maggie Hassan.
Dr. Fauci, I want to start by thanking you for more than 50 years of service to this country at the National Institutes of Health. And it is unfortunate that you have been put in the position that you are in today.
She was not alone with that viewpoint. And if you look at some of the comments to part of the hearing clipped and posted on social media by liberal media outlets, that sentiment remains. And so it makes me wonder, for us as a nation, can we ever find some common ground on COVID and how it was handled, or are we too far apart?
Well, I think right now we're too far apart, but maybe eventually, as time goes by, as the generations go by, when historians look back on this era and they say, what in the world just happened there? That was wild. I can't believe that people were willing to, lock children out of school, like lock down businesses, keep children out of school, do all these wild things. It would be hard to fathom. I mean, school closures, no bars, no restaurants. People were getting delayed medical care. People suffered mental health problems. We saw overdose increases. We saw mass economic harm. I mean, it really will be an event that historians look back on for guidance as to what to do in the future, what not to do in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. Other than I would note,
dollars.
Depends who's writing the books. Right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And that's a big point, because now that we got AI pulling all this information, we need to make sure we get the record straight.
Exactly. All right, Alan, thank you so much for coming on First Edition. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
All right. Here with us